Hey boys and girls, today we are going to be practicing finding area when we're multiplying by our fractions. And we've talked about this a little bit, but we're just going to see some mixed numbers while we're finding our area this time. So we are very prepared to do it. So it says, today we'll be able to solve multiplication problems with fractions and mixed numbers to find the area of rectangles. Anytime we see area, I just want you to think, how do we find area? Remember, that's length times width. Write that down somewhere. We need to remember that area is length times width. So number one says, Tony hangs a plaque that is 5.5 inches wide and 8.5 inches long. How much wall space does the plaque cover? First it says, write an equation to model the problem using fractions greater than 1. So that's meaning a fraction greater than 1. It's wanting you to make them into improper fractions. And remember, we're doing that because we want to represent exactly how many halves this is. So 5.5, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11 halves. Think about how many halves. 2 halves make a whole. We have 5 wholes, so that'd be 10. Then we have our 1 extra, so that's 11 halves. 8.5, 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17 halves. There'd be 16 halves in those 8 wholes, and we have 1 extra. And so we're just modeling the problem so we can say that equals the P, the size of the plaque. All right. So then B says, find the product from part A. What does this product represent? So find the product, find the answer. So we're going to work out 11 times 17. So we can just stick that anywhere on the side of our paper. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 1 is 7. Remember, we've moved over to the tens place. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So 187, and 2 times 2 is 4. 187 fourths. You might remember when we were doing lesson a few days ago, fourths was how, when we were seeing those little square pieces, that was how many of those little square pieces it is. We can also make this into a mixed number. I don't know how many times 4 goes into 187, so I'm going to also work that out. 4 goes into 18 4 times because I know that's 16. 4 goes into 27 6 times because that's 24, and I have 3 left over. So 4 went into 187 46 whole times with 3 fourths extra. So you can have your answers represented either way. And it also asks, what does this represent? This represents the area. We found the area because we multiplied the length times the width. How much wall space does it cover? The same answer would be right here. It covers 187 fourths, or 46 3/4 inches. All right, what units did you use in your answer? So we know that those are inches, but we call those square inches. And that's because we had length times width. That's a 2-dimensional figure. So square is that 2-dimensional because it's using length and width. So that's why we call it square inches. All right, next page. Emma works to clean paintings that have been covered with dust and dirt. She must work very slowly to protect the paint. Last week, she cleaned a painting that has an area of 1 1/3 yards, square yards. This week, she cleans a painting that has an area that is 1/16 the area of the first painting. What is the area of the painting that she cleans this week? So when we're reading again, she's cleaning one that has an area of 1 1/3, but then this week she found an area that was 1/16 that. So it's going to be smaller, and it's going to be a lot smaller than that, because it's only one piece if you split it into 16 parts. So first we need to write an equation. So we have 1 1/3 times 1/16, because we're finding 1/16 of that. But let's go ahead and change this into an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4/3 times 1/16. And we can just say equals P for painting. So now we're going to solve the equation. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 16, we can work it out right here. 3 times 6 is 18. That would be 48. 4 48s. I know I can simplify, they're both even. I also know I can divide them both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 48 divided by 4 is 12. So we knew that that was going to be a lot less than this, because we found a 16th of it. So we took this 1 1/3, we split it into 16 parts, and we only got one of them. 1/12 is a very small fraction. It's much smaller than this. So that's how we know our answer is reasonable. So I'm just going to write it is much smaller than 1 1/3. And that helps me know that my answer is reasonable. Okay, let's look at number 1. Martina builds a pen for rabbits. The pen measures 3 2/3 by 4 1/2. What is the area? Remember, area is length times width. So we have 3 2/3 times 4 1/2. So let's make these improper fractions. 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11 thirds. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9 halves. So here's an example of why we're putting these into improper fractions here. This number is in thirds. This number is in halves. So if we were to just multiply this 3 and this 4, we're making it like those are the same things, but really this 3 is represented in thirds, this 4 is represented in halves, and I'll show you how it does not give us the right answer in just a minute. So 11 times 9 is 99, and 3 times 2 is 6. So let's go ahead and make that into a mixed number. So 99 divided by 6. 6 goes into 9 once. 6 goes into 39 6 times. So that gives me 3 left over. So now I know my answer is 16 with 3 6. And I know that's equivalent to 16 1/2. If I was to multiply it like this, I would get 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. I got an answer, but I got an answer that's incorrect. Look how different these answers are. That's because when we did this, we really just found 2 or half of 2/3 and then kept our whole numbers. But this is this whole number times this whole number. And remember, 3 2/3 is almost a whole. This is almost 4. And 4 1/2 is, 4 1/2. You could round it to 5. So it's going to have to be bigger than just plain old 12. And this is the correct answer. That is why we're having to make these into improper fractions, because they are not represented in the same kind of way.